The fork in my hand hovered over the perfectly seared salmon when my husband spoke the words that would split my life in two. I'm in love with someone else. I want a divorce. The restaurant continued its gentle hum around us. Crystal glasses clinked at nearby tables. A woman laughed somewhere to my left. The pianist in the corner played something soft and unremoving. And there sat Robert, my husband of 8 years, watching me with an expression I'd never seen before. Anticipation mixed with something else. Satisfaction maybe. Like he'd finally gotten the courage to do something he'd been rehearsing. I set down my fork with deliberate care. The silver made a soft sound against the white porcelain. I reached for my water glass, took a slow sip, and met his eyes. I said nothing. Robert's confident expression flickered. He'd worn his best navy suit tonight, the one I'd bought him for his promotion 2 years ago. His hair was freshly cut. He'd even trimmed his beard. This wasn't a spontaneous confession. This was planned. Choreographed. Did you hear me? He asked, leaning forward slightly. I said I want a divorce. I took another sip of water. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, but my hand stayed steady. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of building a life together, or so I'd thought. I designed our home literally. As an architect, I'd poured my soul into creating our space. Every corner held a memory, every room told a story of us. Except there was no us anymore. Maybe there hadn't been for a while. Say something, Robert pressed. His voice carried an edge now. This wasn't going according to his script. I picked up my knife and cut into the salmon. The flesh separated easily, pink and perfect. I took a bite. It was delicious. The chef had really outdone himself with the herb butter. What are you doing? Robert's voice rose slightly. The couple at the next table glanced over. I chewed slowly, swallowed, dabbed my lips with the cloth napkin. Only then did I speak. Finishing my meal. This salmon is excellent. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, then frustration, then something that looked almost like panic. You're not going to say anything? Ask questions? Get upset? Should I? I asked calmly. I cut another piece of salmon. Robert sat back in his chair. He looked utterly thrown. In all his planning, in all his rehearsing of this moment, he'd expected tears. He'd expected me to beg. To ask why, to plead for another chance, to make a scene. He'd probably imagined himself as the strong one, the decisive one, finally brave enough to pursue his happiness. He never expected silence. I've been seeing her for 6 months, he said, trying again to provoke a reaction. She makes me happy. Really happy. In ways you never have. I took a sip of wine. It was a nice Chardonnay, oaky with hints of apple. Who chose this restaurant? I asked. What? This restaurant. Did you choose it or did she help you pick it? Robert's jaw clenched. That's what you want to know. I'm curious about the staging, I said. Public place, nice but not too nice. Romantic lighting but enough people around that I won't cause a scene. Smart choice. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're insane. Maybe, I agreed. Or maybe I just don't perform on command. I remembered the first time Robert had taken me to a nice restaurant. We'd been dating 3 months. He'd been nervous, sweet, talking too fast about his day at the marketing firm. He'd knocked over his water glass and we'd both laughed. That Robert seemed like a stranger now. The past year had been strange. He'd been distant, working late, always on his phone. I'd attributed it to stress at work. His company had been going through restructuring. I'd given him space, focused on my own career. My architecture firm had been thriving. I'd landed 3 major residential projects and 2 commercial ones. I'd been busy, fulfilled. I'd been blind. Her name is Amanda, Robert continued, determined to get some reaction. She's 28. She works at my office. She's ambitious, exciting. She looks at me like I matter. And I don't. I asked, still calm. You look at me like I'm furniture, he snapped. Like I'm just there. Part of the background of your perfect life. I considered this. Maybe he was right. Maybe I had taken him for granted. Maybe I'd been so focused on building our future that I'd forgotten about the present. But that didn't excuse what he'd done. What he was doing. So you want a divorce, I said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Okay. His eyes widened. Okay? That's it. What else would you like me to say? I don't know. Something. Anything. He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the careful styling. This is 8 years of marriage we're talking about. I'm aware. I finished the last of my salmon and set down my silverware. Are you paying for dinner or should we split it? Robert's face flushed red. You're being ridiculous. I'm being practical. I pulled my phone from my purse. I assume you've already consulted a lawyer? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Right. I opened my banking app. For the first time that evening, my hands shook slightly. I forced them steady. Our joint account showed normal activity from last week. But our savings account, the one we'd been building for years, was significantly lower than I remembered. Robert. My voice stayed level, but something in my tone made him sit up straighter. Where's the money from our savings? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. I moved some assets around. To protect them. To protect them from me, you mean? It's my money too. Interesting. I took a screenshot of the account balance. Then I opened my email and forwarded it to myself with a timestamp. Robert watched, his confident facade cracking further. What are you doing? Documenting. I smiled at him. It wasn't a warm smile. You've been planning this for months, haven't you? Moving money, consulting lawyers, probably already looking at apartments. All while I designed our home addition, cooked our meals, planned our future. You're always working, he defended. You care more about your buildings than about me. So you cheated and stole from our joint accounts. Very mature. The waiter approached to clear our plates. I handed him mine with a genuine smile. Thank you, it was wonderful. Will you be having dessert? The waiter asked, sensing the tension but professionally ignoring it. No, Robert said quickly. Actually, yes, I corrected. I'll have the chocolate torte. And another glass of wine. The waiter nodded and disappeared. Robert stared at me. We're in the middle of ending our marriage and you're ordering dessert? We're in the middle of you telling me about your affair and demanding a divorce, I corrected. I don't see why I should skip dessert because of your poor choices. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I thought you'd fight for us. Did you fight for us? I asked. When you were sleeping with Amanda, were you fighting for us? When you were moving our money, were you thinking about us? That's different. How? He had no answer for that. My dessert arrived. The chocolate torte was a work of art, rich and decadent with raspberry coulis on the side. I took my time with it, savoring each bite while Robert squirmed in his seat. He kept checking his phone. Probably texting Amanda, telling her it wasn't going as planned. I'll be staying at a hotel tonight, Robert finally said. I'll come by tomorrow to get some clothes. No. He blinked. What do you mean no? I mean you'll stay at a hotel tonight and every night after. I'll pack your things and have them sent wherever you'd like. But you won't be coming back to our house. Ever. It's my house too. Actually, I said, scraping up the last of the chocolate, if you check the deed, you'll see it's in my name. I designed it. I oversaw the construction. I paid for most of it with my firm's profits. You contributed to the furnishings, which I'm happy to split fairly. But the house is mine. This clearly wasn't information he had. His face went pale. That can't be right. Check with your lawyer. I finished my wine and stood up, placing my napkin on the table. Thank you for dinner. And for being honest, finally. It saves us both time. I pulled out my wallet, but Robert stopped me. I'll pay, he said quietly, some of the fight gone from his voice. How generous. I picked up my purse. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. Don't come by the house. Don't call me unless it's through legal channels. We're done here. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high, my steps steady. I made it to my car before the shaking started. I sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel, and let myself feel it all for exactly 3 minutes. The betrayal. The anger. The grief for what I'd thought we had. Then I wiped my eyes, started the engine, and drove home. Our house looked beautiful in the evening light. I designed it to catch the sunset just right. The large windows I'd insisted on glowed warm. I'd made this place a home, a sanctuary. And Robert had been planning to take it from me while sleeping with someone else. Not anymore. I unlocked the door and went straight to my office. My best friend Rebecca would still be awake. She was a night owl, and more importantly, she was a lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, but she'd know who to call. Hey girl, she answered on the second ring. What's up? How was your dinner with Robert? Rebecca, I said, my voice finally showing some strain, I need a divorce lawyer. The best one you know. And I need them tomorrow. There was a pause. What did he do? Everything. I sank into my office chair. He did everything wrong and he thinks he's going to win. Oh honey. Rebecca's voice went hard. He has no idea who he's dealing with, does he? No, I said, looking around at my carefully organized office, at the architectural drawings on my walls, at the evidence of my success and strength. He really doesn't. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I worked. My office became a command center. I pulled every bank statement from the past 2 years. Every credit card bill. Every receipt I'd saved in my meticulous filing system. Robert had always teased me about my organizational habits. Said I was too controlling, too rigid. Now those habits were going to save me. At 2 in the morning, I found the first hotel charge. 6 months ago, just like he'd said. The Riverside Inn downtown. I cross-referenced it with my calendar. That was the weekend he'd said he was at a marketing conference in Chicago. I found 3 more hotel charges. All local. All on weekends when he'd claimed to be traveling. I took screenshots of everything. By 4 in the morning I had a timeline. The affair had started 6 months ago, but the financial manipulation had begun 3 months ago. Small transfers at first. 200 here, 500 there. Then larger ones. He'd been testing to see if I'd notice. I hadn't because I'd trusted him. What a mistake that had been. The savings account wasn't the only one he'd touched. He'd also opened a credit card in both our names that I'd known nothing about. The bill came to his office email. He'd racked up $12,000 in charges. Jewelry that I'd never received. Weekend trips I'd never taken. Dinners at restaurants we'd never visited together. He'd been building a life with Amanda using our money. I documented everything. Each charge got a screenshot, a notation, a date. I created a spreadsheet that would make any accountant weep with joy. By the time dawn broke through my office windows, I had a case file that would bury him. My phone buzzed. Robert. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. 7 calls before 7 in the morning. I turned off the ringer and went to make coffee. The house felt different now. Every room I walked through, I saw it with new eyes. The kitchen where I'd made countless breakfasts while he scrolled through his phone. The living room where we'd watched movies, except lately he'd always had an excuse to go to bed early. The bedroom we'd shared, where he'd come to me less and less frequently over the past months. How had I not seen it? No. I shook that thought away. This wasn't my failure. I'd been a good wife. A loving partner. I'd supported his career, celebrated his wins, comforted him through his losses. I'd been present. He was the one who'd checked out. He was the one who'd betrayed every vow we'd made. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Rebecca. Please tell me you got some sleep, she said when I answered. Define sleep. Honey. I'm fine, I said, and I was surprised to realize it was true. I'm better than fine. I'm prepared. I called in a favor, Rebecca said. Patricia Chin. She's the best divorce attorney in the state. Absolutely ruthless in court but fair. She doesn't play games and she doesn't lose. She can see you at 9 this morning. I glanced at the clock. It was 7:30. I'll be there. Bring everything you have. And I mean everything. Bank statements, property deeds, emails, texts, whatever you've got. Already compiled. I looked at the thick folder sitting on my desk. Rebecca, he's been planning this for months. Moving money, hiding things. Then it's good you're smarter than he is. I could hear the smile in her voice. Patricia is going to love you. You're every divorce lawyer's dream client. Organized, calm, and wronged enough to have the moral high ground. After we hung up, I showered and dressed carefully. I chose a navy suit, crisp white blouse, minimal jewelry. Professional. Put together. The kind of woman who doesn't fall apart, who doesn't beg, who doesn't lose. Robert called again while I was applying my makeup. Then he texted. We need to talk. Please pick up. I deleted it without responding. Another text. You can't ignore me forever. We have things to discuss. I took a screenshot and added it to my file. Then I blocked his number. Patricia Chen's office was in a downtown high-rise with a view that rivaled my best designs. Her receptionist was polite and efficient, offering me coffee that I accepted gratefully. I'd finished my pot at home but could use more. Miss Patterson will see you now, the receptionist said after a few minutes. Patricia Chen was in her 50s, perfectly polished, with sharp eyes that assessed me in seconds. She stood to shake my hand, her grip firm and confident. Rebecca speaks very highly of you, Patricia said, gesturing for me to sit. She says you're an architect. Have you done any commercial work? Several projects, I said. Mostly high-end residential, but I've designed 3 restaurants and an office building. Impressive. Patricia settled into her chair. Now tell me everything. Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out. I did. I told her about the dinner, about Robert's confession, about my discovery of the financial manipulation. I slid the folder across her desk. She opened it and began flipping through, her expression never changing but her eyes getting sharper with each page. "You compiled this yourself?" she asked. "Last night. In one night. I don't sleep well when I'm angry." The corner of Patricia's mouth twitched. It might have been a smile. "Miss Patterson, your husband is an idiot. He's left a trail that a child could follow. These hotel charges, the credit card he opened, the savings transfers. It's all traceable, all documented, and all going to look very bad for him in court." "Can he claim the house?" I asked. That was my biggest fear. "He said it's his too. May I see the deed?" I brought it. Of course I brought it. Patricia examined it carefully. "The house is solely in your name," she confirmed. "Unless he can prove he contributed significantly to its purchase or construction, which based on your financial records he didn't, he has no claim. Colorado is an equitable distribution state, which means we divide assets fairly, not necessarily equally. Given his affair and financial misconduct, the court will favor you heavily." Some of the tension in my shoulders eased. "What about the money he already moved?" "We'll get it back. All of it. Plus, we'll make sure he's responsible for that credit card debt he racked up on his affair." Patricia closed the folder. "I need you to do something for me. I need you to stay exactly as calm as you were at that dinner. No emotional outbursts, no angry texts, no confrontations. Let me handle everything. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Good. Because men like your husband expect their wives to fall apart. They expect drama, tears, bargaining. When you don't give him that, when you stay strong and silent, it throws them completely off balance. It also makes you look very good to a judge." Patricia spent the next hour going over strategy. She'd file papers by end of day. Robert would be served at his office tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I was to change all my passwords, secure my personal accounts, and document any attempts he made to contact me. "One more thing," Patricia said as I was leaving. "Do you have somewhere you can stay for a few days? Sometimes men react badly when they're served. I'd feel better if you weren't alone in that house." "I'll be fine," I said. "I have a good security system." "Humor me. At least for the first few days." I thought about it. "My parents are on a cruise. But Rebecca has a guest room." "Perfect. Use it." I called Rebecca from the parking lot. She answered immediately. "How'd it go?" "I'm moving in with you for a few days." "Hell yes you are. I'll make up the guest room. We can have wine and talk about what a piece of trash Robert is." Despite everything, I smiled. "That sounds perfect." I drove back to my house to pack. It felt strange, leaving my own home because of Robert's choices. But Patricia was right. Better to be cautious. I was folding clothes into a suitcase when I heard a car in the driveway. Through the window I saw Robert's sedan. He got out, looking rumpled and tired. He must have been calling from outside after I blocked his number. I watched him try his key in the lock. It didn't work. I called a locksmith first thing that morning. Robert tried again, then pounded on the door. "I know you're in there," he shouted. "Open the door." I pulled out my phone and started recording. Then I called the police non-emergency line. "This is Natalie Patterson. My estranged husband is at my home attempting to force entry after I've asked him not to come by. I'd like an officer here, please." Robert's face appeared in the window. He looked shocked to see me calmly on the phone. "Are you serious right now? Are you calling the cops on me?" I didn't answer. Just kept recording. "This is my house too," he yelled. The police arrived within 10 minutes. I opened the door for them, calm and composed. I showed them the deed, explained that Robert and I were separated, that I'd asked him not to come by, that he'd tried to force entry. "Sir, you need to leave," the officer told Robert. "This is ridiculous. She's my wife. She's asked you to leave her property. If you don't leave now, we'll have to arrest you for trespassing." Robert looked at me, his expression a mix of disbelief and fury. "You're going to regret this." "Officer, can I add that to my report as a threat?" I asked sweetly. Robert's face went red, but he walked back to his car. The officers waited until he drove away before leaving themselves. "Ma'am, if he comes back, call 911 immediately," one officer advised. "And you might want to consider a restraining order." "My lawyer is already working on it," I said. After they left, I finished packing and locked up the house. I set the security system and activated the cameras I'd had installed 2 years ago. Robert didn't know about those cameras. They would record everything if he came back. Rebecca's apartment was in a renovated warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and high ceilings. She'd made dinner, pasta with fresh vegetables, and poured me a very large glass of wine. "Okay," she said, settling onto the couch next to me. "Tell me everything." I did. All of it. The dinner, the all-night documentation session, the meeting with Patricia, Robert showing up at the house. By the time I finished, Rebecca was furious on my behalf. I never liked him, she declared. I always thought he was too comfortable, too entitled. But I kept my mouth shut because you seemed happy. Was I happy? I asked. Or was I just comfortable too? Don't do that, Rebecca said firmly. Don't make his cheating about your happiness. He could have talked to you. He could have suggested counseling. He could have been honest. Instead, he lied, cheated, and stole. That's on him. All of it. She was right. I knew she was right. But some small part of me still wondered what I could have done differently. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. Miss Patterson? This is Amanda Reeves. The mistress. Calling me. I gestured frantically at Rebecca and put the phone on speaker. What do you want? I asked, my voice cold. I just wanted you to know that Robert and I are serious. We love each other. And I think you should make this divorce easy for everyone. I looked at Rebecca, who looked ready to reach through the phone and strangle this woman. Amanda, I said calmly, you're welcome to him, truly. But if you think I'm going to make anything easy after what you both did, you're as delusional as he is. Don't call me again. I hung up. Then I blocked that number too. The audacity, Rebecca breathed. The sheer, absolute audacity of that woman. She'll learn, I said. They both will. That night I slept for 4 hours. It was the best sleep I'd had in months. The process server caught Robert in the parking lot of his office at 8:30 in the morning. I know because Patricia's office sent me a confirmation with a timestamp. There was a certain satisfaction in knowing he'd been served publicly, in front of his colleagues. My phone stayed blissfully silent. Robert's number was blocked, Amanda's too. I'd changed all my passwords, secured my accounts, and forwarded all my mail to Rebecca's address. I was unreachable and it was perfect. Patricia called at 10. He's already contacted his lawyer. They want to meet. Apparently Robert is very upset about the terms. What terms? I asked. We haven't negotiated anything yet. Exactly. Your husband seems to think this is going to be a friendly, quick divorce where you both walk away happy. His lawyer had to explain that his client's affair and financial misconduct means this will not be friendly or quick. Good. Natalie, Patricia said, and her tone shifted slightly, I need to ask you something. Are you sure you don't want to try mediation? Sometimes people work things out. I'm sure, I said without hesitation. He killed this marriage the moment he touched her. There's nothing left to save. All right then. We proceed with litigation. It'll take longer, cost more, but given his behavior, we'll win bigger. After we hung up, I focused on work. I had a presentation to finalize for a potential client, a couple wanting to build their dream home on a lakefront property. I lost myself in the design, in the clean lines and natural light. Architecture had always been my escape, my meditation. Creating something beautiful from nothing but an idea and a plot of land. Rebecca was at work, so I had the apartment to myself. I just finished my presentation mock-up when my work phone rang. My secretary Julie. Natalie, there's a woman here to see you. She says it's urgent. Her name is Amanda Reeves. The mistress had come to my office. The sheer boldness of it left me speechless for a moment. Tell her I'm unavailable, I said. I did. She says she'll wait. Then let her wait. I hung up and immediately called Patricia. She showed up at your workplace? Patricia asked. Apparently. Don't engage with her. At all. If she won't leave, call building security. I'm documenting this as harassment. I called Julie back. Contact building security. Have them escort her out. If she refuses to leave, they should call the police. Understood. 10 minutes later, Julie called again. She's gone. But Natalie, she was crying. She said she just wanted to apologize. Note the time and what she said. Send it to me in an email. I should have felt something. Pity maybe. Satisfaction possibly. Instead, I felt nothing. Amanda was a problem like a structural issue in a building. You don't get emotional about a cracked foundation. You just fix it. That afternoon, I met with the lakefront clients. The presentation went perfectly. They loved every aspect of the design, especially the way I'd oriented the house to maximize the water view while maintaining privacy. We signed a contract on the spot. It was a 6-month project worth $200,000. I called Rebecca with the news. Drinks tonight, she insisted. We're celebrating. We went to a wine bar downtown, one of my favorite spots with a relaxed atmosphere and excellent selection. I was on my second glass, finally feeling some of the tension leave my body when I saw them. Robert and Amanda at a table in the corner. He was leaning close to her, holding her hand. She was dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. Neither of them had seen me yet. "We can leave," Rebecca said immediately, noticing where I was looking. "No," I said. "I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I have every right to be here." Rebecca squeezed my hand. "That's my girl." We stayed. We finished our drinks and ordered a small plate of appetizers. I kept my back to their table, refused to give them the satisfaction of my attention. But I was aware of them. Of Amanda's occasional glances in my direction. Of Robert's stiff posture. They left before we did. As they passed our table, Amanda actually tried to make eye contact with me. I looked right through her like she was invisible. The hurt on her face was evident, but I felt nothing. "That was brutal," Rebecca said once they were gone. "And absolutely perfect." "She wanted acknowledgement," I said. "Wanted me to make a scene or cry or give her some kind of reaction that would make her feel important. I won't give her that." Robert looked miserable. "Good." But later that night, alone in Rebecca's guest room, I let myself feel it. The pain of seeing them together. The reality that my husband had chosen someone else. I cried into my pillow for exactly 15 minutes. Then I washed my face, drank a glass of water, and went to sleep. The next morning brought an email from Patricia. Robert's lawyer had sent over his proposed division of assets. I read through it with growing disbelief. He wanted half the value of the house, half my retirement account, half my business, and he wanted me to pay his legal fees. I forwarded it to Patricia with one line, "Is he joking?" She called immediately. "He's establishing an aggressive starting position. It's a negotiation tactic. We'll counter with our own proposal, which will be very different. I built my business before we got married," I said. "He has no claim to it." "Correct. And we'll make that very clear. We'll also be asking for compensation for the money he stole, for his credit card debt, and for emotional distress." "Emotional distress?" "His affair and financial misconduct caused you emotional harm. Colorado allows for that in divorce proceedings. Plus, it makes him look bad, which helps us." I spent the afternoon working on my counterproposal with Patricia. By the time we finished, it was clear Robert would walk away with far less than he'd hoped. His retirement account, his car, his personal belongings, and that was about it. The house was mine. My business was mine. He'd be responsible for the credit card debt and would have to return the money he'd moved. "He won't agree to this," Patricia warned. "We'll likely end up in court." "Then we go to court," I said simply. That evening, I drove back to my house to pick up some work files. The place felt empty, echoing. I'd spent years making it perfect, and now it felt like a museum. Beautiful but lifeless. I was loading files into my car when a vehicle pulled up. Not Robert's car. A silver SUV. Amanda got out. "Please don't call the police," she said immediately, holding up her hands. "I just want to talk." "There's nothing to talk about." I closed my trunk. "I know you hate me," Amanda continued, moving closer. "And you have every right to. But I need you to understand something. Robert and I love each other. This isn't just some affair. We have a real connection." I looked at her properly for the first time. She was young, pretty in a generic way. She wore a red dress that was slightly too tight, heels that were slightly too high. She was trying very hard to look sophisticated but just looked desperate. "Amanda," I said calmly, "I don't hate you. I don't feel anything about you at all. You're just a person who made bad choices, same as Robert. But let me tell you something, and I want you to really hear this." She waited, looking hopeful, like I was about to give her my blessing. "If he cheated with you, he'll cheat on you. If he lied to me, he'll lie to you. You think you won some prize, but all you got was a cheater and a liar who's about to lose most of his assets in a divorce. Good luck with that." Her face crumpled. "You're just bitter." "No," I said, getting into my car. "I'm realistic. There's a difference." I drove away, leaving her standing in my driveway. In my rearview mirror, I saw her get back in her SUV. She sat there for a long moment before driving away. Back at Rebecca's apartment, I found my friend had ordered pizza and queued up a comedy special. "You need to laugh," she declared. "Doctor's orders." "You're not a doctor." "Legal counsel's orders then." We ate pizza and watched comedy, and for a few hours, I forgot about divorce papers and cheating husbands and desperate mistresses. I just laughed with my best friend and remembered that my life was more than this mess. My phone buzzed. An email from Patricia, sent late. I opened it. "Robert's lawyer called me this evening. Apparently Amanda showed up at your house. Robert is claiming you threatened her." I called Patricia immediately. I did no such thing. I know. I told his lawyer that you have security cameras that would show the entire interaction. He backed down immediately. They're reaching Natalie. They know they're losing. After we hung up, I pulled up the security footage on my phone. There I was, calm and composed, speaking to Amanda for less than 3 minutes before leaving. No raised voices. No threats. Just the truth delivered plainly. I saved the footage and sent it to Patricia. Then I sent a copy to myself for backup. Robert was getting desperate. Amanda was getting clingy. And I was getting stronger every day. Let them scramble. Let them panic. I had truth on my side, and that was worth more than any amount of lies they could tell. Patricia's office had become familiar territory. I'd been there 5 times in 2 weeks, each visit adding another layer to my case. Today was different. Today we were finalizing the official counter-proposal. Your husband's lawyer called again this morning, Patricia said, sliding a document across her desk. 3rd time this week. Robert wants to talk to you directly. No. That's what I told them. Patricia smiled slightly. They're frustrated. They expected you to be emotional, to make mistakes. Instead, you've been textbook perfect. Every communication through lawyers, every document properly filed, no angry outbursts they can use against you. I looked over the document. Our counter-proposal was comprehensive. Clean. Devastating. He'll fight this, I said. Let him. Fighting means court means everything becomes public record. His affair with a subordinate. The money he moved. The credit card debt from hotels and jewelry for his mistress. His company won't like that. Neither will his family. Robert's family. I hadn't thought much about them. His parents had always been kind to me, if a bit distant. His mother had called once since the separation. I let it go to voicemail. She'd said she was sure this was all a misunderstanding, that Robert was going through something, that we should try counseling. I deleted the message without calling back. There's something else, Patricia said. I did some digging into Robert's employment situation. Did you know his company has a strict fraternization policy? They do. Very strict. Relationships between managers and their direct reports are grounds for termination. Amanda works directly under Robert. I sat back in my chair. So he's not just losing his marriage. He could lose his job. If HR finds out. And they will find out once we enter discovery. All company communications become fair game. There was a savage satisfaction in that. Robert had always been so proud of his position, his corner office, his management role. He'd worked for that company for 7 years, climbing the ladder carefully. All of it at risk now because he couldn't keep it in his pants. When do we file? I asked. End of this week. I want to give his lawyer one more chance to accept our terms. If they don't, we move forward with litigation. I left Patricia's office and drove to my next appointment. I'd been avoiding going to the house during business hours, but I had a meeting with a structural engineer about a client's project. We'd agreed to meet at my home office where I had all the plans. The house looked exactly as I'd left it. Security system armed, cameras recording, mail held at the post office. I disarmed the system and went to my office. The engineer arrived promptly. We spent 2 hours going over the plans for the lakefront house, discussing foundation requirements and load-bearing walls. It was good to focus on work, on problems that had solutions, on creating something instead of destroying something. After he left, I found myself wandering through the house. The living room where Robert and I had hosted dinner parties. The kitchen where we'd cooked together in the early years. The bedroom where we'd stopped touching each other months before his confession. Had I missed the signs? Or had I chosen not to see them? My phone rang. Julie, my secretary. Natalie, I have Robert online too. He says it's urgent. Tell him to call my lawyer. I did. He says it's not about the divorce. He says there's a problem with the house. I paused. What kind of problem? He wouldn't say. Just that he needs to talk to you immediately. Put him through. There was a click, then Robert's voice. Natalie, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for days. You were told to go through our lawyers. This isn't about the divorce. The water heater burst. The basement is flooding. I pulled up the security camera app on my phone. The basement camera showed water covering the floor, seeping out from the utility room. Robert wasn't lying. When did this happen? I asked. I don't know. I drove by the house this morning and saw water coming out from under the garage door. I still have the garage code. I went in to check and found the mess. You're not supposed to be at the house. Would you rather I let it flood? His voice rose with frustration. I called you because it's your house, remember? You made that very clear. He was right, much as I hated to admit it. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I already called a plumber. He's on the way. I hung up and immediately called Patricia. Robert's at the house. There's actually a water problem. I'm heading there now. Be careful. Don't be alone with him. Take someone with you. I called Rebecca, but she was in court. My next call was to Tom, a contractor I'd worked with on several projects. He answered immediately. Tom, I need a favor. Can you meet me at my house in 20 minutes? I have a water situation and my estranged husband is there. On my way. Tom arrived 5 minutes before I did. He was waiting in his truck when I pulled up. He was a big man, gentle-natured but imposing when needed. I designed his sister's house 2 years ago and we'd become friends. Thanks for coming, I said. No problem. Let's see what we've got. Robert's car was in the driveway. We found him in the basement with a plumber. Water was everywhere, soaking into boxes of stored items, ruining years of accumulated memories. The pressure valve failed, the plumber explained. Tank ruptured. You're looking at full replacement plus water damage restoration. How much? I asked. Tank and installation about $2,000. Water damage depends on how much affected the structure. Could be another $5,000 to $10,000 if we need to replace drywall and flooring. I looked at Robert. He looked tired, his hair unkempt, his shirt wrinkled. Why were you driving by the house? I left some things in the garage, he said. I was going to grab them and leave. Then I saw the water. What things? My golf clubs. Some boxes of files. You could have called and arranged a time. You blocked my number. Tom cleared his throat. Let's focus on the water damage. I can handle the restoration work. I'll give you a fair price. The plumber and Tom started discussing logistics. Robert moved closer to me, lowering his voice. We need to talk, he said. Really talk. Not through lawyers. There's nothing to discuss. Natalie, please. This is getting out of hand. Amanda is a mistake, I see that now. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over. I stared at him. Are you serious right now? I miss you. I miss us. There is no us. You killed that when you slept with your assistant and stole our money. I didn't steal it. I moved it to protect it during the divorce. You moved it before you told me you wanted a divorce. That's theft. His jaw clenched. This is exactly why we need to talk without lawyers. You're being unreasonable. Tom stepped between us smoothly. Ma'am, I've got measurements. Want to go upstairs and I'll give you an estimate? Yes. I followed Tom up, leaving Robert in the basement. In the kitchen, Tom kept his voice low. You okay? I'm fine. He's trying to manipulate you. I've seen it before. The fake reconciliation attempt. I know. But thanks for running interference. Tom wrote up an estimate for the water damage restoration. It was fair, reasonable. I approved it immediately. The plumber came up with his own estimate for the tank replacement. Also approved. Robert emerged from the basement. I'll pay half, he said. It's only fair. The house is in my name, I reminded him. You have no financial responsibility for it. I lived here for 8 years. And then you left. Your lawyer can discuss property damage compensation with mine if you feel you're owed something. His face reddened. Why are you being like this? Like what? Practical? Reasonable? Unwilling to pretend your betrayal didn't happen? I made a mistake. No, I said firmly. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A mistake is double booking dinner plans. What you did was a series of conscious choices over months. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose to steal. Those aren't mistakes. That's who you decided to be. The plumber and Tom suddenly became very interested in their paperwork. Robert looked like I'd slapped him. I want my golf clubs, he said finally. Take them. Take whatever you left in the garage. But then leave and don't come back. He went to the garage. I heard him loading things into his car. Tom and the plumber scheduled the repairs for the following day. By the time they left, Robert was gone too. I stood in my kitchen, looking at the home I'd built, now damaged by something as simple as a failed water heater. Everything could be repaired. Everything could be restored. The structure was sound. The foundation was solid. Unlike my marriage, which had been built on lies I never knew existed. That evening, I returned to Rebecca's apartment. She had Chinese takeout waiting and a bottle of wine already open. How bad was it? She asked. The water damage or seeing Robert? Both. Water damage is manageable. Seeing Robert was pathetic. He tried to reconcile. Rebecca nearly choked on her wine. He what? Said Amanda was a mistake. That we should try counseling. After everything he did? The audacity of that man knows no bounds. I turned him down, I said unnecessarily. Obviously. But how did he take it? Not well. But I don't care. I didn't care. That was the truth. Whatever love I'd felt for Robert had died somewhere between his confession and his lies. Now he was just an obstacle to overcome, a problem to solve, a chapter to close. My phone buzzed. An email from Patricia. Robert's lawyer rejected our counter-proposal. We're going to court. Discovery starts in 2 weeks. Natalie, this is going to get ugly. Are you prepared for that? I wrote back immediately. I'm prepared. Let's finish this. Discovery was a beautiful thing. Patricia's team subpoenaed everything. Bank records, emails, text messages, credit card statements. Robert's company emails proved particularly interesting. He'd been emailing Amanda from his work account. Personal messages. Inappropriate messages. Messages that clearly violated company policy. This is gold, Patricia said during our meeting. Not only does it prove the affair, it shows a pattern of using company resources for personal matters. His HR department is going to have questions. When do we submit this? I asked. Next week. But here's what I need you to understand. Once we submit, this becomes public record. Anyone can access it. That means Robert's colleagues, his family, your mutual friends. Everyone will know exactly what he did. Good. Patricia studied me. You're sure? Some people prefer privacy. I prefer truth. He chose to do this. He can live with the consequences. That afternoon, I had lunch with an old college friend, Heather. We'd lost touch over the years but reconnected after she heard about my separation through mutual friends. She was a photographer now, specializing in architectural photography. I heard about Robert, she said carefully. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not. She smiled. I always thought you were too good for him. You were designing award-winning buildings while he was pushing marketing campaigns for toothpaste. He worked hard, I said, feeling the need to be fair even now. But he didn't appreciate you. That's worse than not working hard. We talked for 2 hours. About her work, my work, our lives. It felt normal. Easy. Like I was myself again, not just the wronged wife in a divorce drama. I'm doing a gallery show next month, Heather said. Modern architecture photography. Would you come? I'd love to. Walking back to my car, I realized I was smiling. Actually smiling without forcing it. I'd been so focused on the divorce, on protecting myself, on surviving, that I'd forgotten about living. That evening, Patricia called with news. Robert's company found out about the affair. Someone in legal saw our discovery documents and flagged it for HR. What happens now? He's been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. If they determine he violated the fraternization policy, which he clearly did, he'll likely be terminated. I should have felt something. Guilt maybe. Pity. But all I felt was a grim satisfaction. Robert had thought he could have everything. His wife's money, his mistress, his prestigious job. Instead he was losing all of it. There's more, Patricia continued. Amanda is panicking. She called our office 3 times today trying to reach you. She wants to talk. About what? She didn't say. But I can guess. She probably thought Robert was some successful executive with money. Now she's realizing he's about to be unemployed with significant legal debt. Not my problem. Exactly. Don't take her calls. Don't engage. Let her drown. 2 days later, I was working at my home office when Julie called. Natalie, Robert's mother, is here. She says she needs to speak with you. I'd been expecting this. Show her in. Barbara Patterson was a refined woman in her late 60s, always perfectly dressed and coiffed. Today she wore a blue suit and pearls. She'd aged since I'd last seen her, new lines around her eyes and mouth. Natalie, she said, her voice strained. Thank you for seeing me. Mrs. Patterson. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. What can I do for you? She sat, clutching her purse like a lifeline. I came to ask you to reconsider this divorce. There's nothing to reconsider. Robert made a terrible mistake. But he's my son and I know him. He's sorry. He's lost without you. He's lost because he made choices that cost him everything. That's not my responsibility. You took vows, she said, her voice rising slightly. For better or worse. In sickness and health. He broke those vows when he slept with another woman. When he lied to me for months. When he stole our money to fund his affair. Barbara flinched. He says you're trying to ruin him. I'm trying to protect myself. There's a difference. His job, Natalie. You're costing him his job. How is he supposed to survive? I leaned forward. Mrs. Patterson, I didn't sleep with Robert's assistant. I didn't violate company policy. I didn't lie or cheat or steal. He did all of that himself. The consequences are his own. But you're pushing so hard. Your lawyer, the discovery, all of it. You're destroying him. No, I said firmly. I'm divorcing him. He's destroying himself. She stood abruptly. You used to be such a sweet girl. What happened to you? I married your son. He changed me. Just not in the way he expected. After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time. Sweet girl. That's what everyone had always called me. Sweet Natalie. Kind Natalie. Accommodating Natalie. The woman who never made waves, who always compromised, who kept the peace. That woman had been useful to Robert. She'd made his life easy. She'd asked for nothing while giving everything. That woman was gone now. The following week brought my first major victory. The judge ruled on temporary orders. I got the house, sole access to my business accounts, and Robert was ordered to make payments toward the credit card debt he'd accumulated. He's furious, Patricia reported. His lawyer called mine screaming about fairness. Fairness would have been him not cheating. My business was thriving. The lakefront project was ahead of schedule. I'd landed 2 more clients, both referrals. My firm was growing, successful, exactly as I'd always dreamed. Robert's world was contracting. His company completed their investigation. He was terminated for violation of ethics policies. Amanda was given a written warning and transferred to a different department. She kept her job. He'd lost his. I heard about it through mutual friends. Robert had moved in with his parents temporarily. He was job hunting, but word had spread about why he'd left his last position. No one wanted to hire a manager who'd had an affair with his subordinate. I felt nothing. No pity. No regret. He'd made his choices. One evening, I was leaving my office late when I saw a familiar car in the parking lot. Robert's. He was leaning against it, waiting. I told you not to contact me, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm not contacting you. I'm waiting in a public parking lot. That's not illegal. Harassment is. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes of your time after 8 years of marriage. Against my better judgment, I stopped. Fine. 5 minutes. He looked terrible. Unshaven, his clothes rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. This wasn't the confident man who'd asked for a divorce in a restaurant. This was someone broken. You've destroyed my life, he said. No. You destroyed your life. I'm just refusing to be destroyed with it. I lost my job because of you. You lost your job because you violated company policy. I didn't make you sleep with your assistant. Amanda left me, he continued as if I hadn't spoken. She said she couldn't be with someone who wasn't stable, who didn't have prospects. And you want what? Sympathy? I want my life back. His voice cracked. I want my house, my wife, my job. I want everything back. Then you should have thought about that before you threw it all away. I made a mistake. You keep saying that. But a mistake implies you didn't mean to do it. You meant every choice you made. You planned your affair. You planned to steal our money. You planned to leave me. The only thing you didn't plan for was me not falling apart. He stared at me. What happened to you? You happened to me. And I survived it. That's what you can't stand. You expected me to beg. To fall apart. To need you. Instead, I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm thriving while you're drowning, and you can't understand why. I loved you, he said quietly. No, you didn't. You loved what I provided. The comfortable life. The nice house. The successful wife who made you look good. But you never loved me. If you had, you couldn't have done what you did. Robert's 5 minutes were up. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, alone in the parking lot, looking lost. I didn't look back. The lakefront project consumed my days. The foundation was poured, framing was underway, and the clients were thrilled with every detail. I spent most mornings at the construction site, reviewing progress and making adjustments. That's where I met Jonathan Wright. He was the lead contractor Tom had recommended for the project, a man in his early 40s with an easy smile and careful hands. He'd been building custom homes for 20 years, and it showed in his work. Every corner was precise, every measurement exact. Your designs are remarkable, he said one morning as we reviewed the framing. The way you've positioned this place to capture the light, the flow between spaces. It's art. Thank you. I appreciated genuine compliments. They were rare in my field, where male colleagues often took credit for women's work. I mean it. I've built a lot of houses, but this one is special. You can tell the architect actually cares. We fell into an easy working relationship. He understood what I wanted without extensive explanation. He caught potential problems before they became issues. He was professional, skilled, and kind. Coffee? He offered one morning, holding up a thermos. I brought extra. We sat on the foundation wall, looking out at the lake. It was peaceful here, away from lawyers and divorce proceedings and ex-husbands. I heard you're going through a divorce, Jonathan said carefully. Tom mentioned it. I hope that's not overstepping. It's fine. Everyone knows by now. Divorce is hell, he said simply. I went through one 5 years ago. It nearly broke me. I looked at him, surprised. He seemed so steady, so put together. What happened? I asked. My wife got sick. Cancer. I spent 2 years caring for her and then she was gone. 6 months later, her sister sued me for half of what we'd owned together. Said my wife had promised her money before she died. That's horrible. It was. But I survived it. Just like you're surviving yours. He poured coffee into 2 cups from his thermos. The thing about going through something terrible is it shows you what you're made of. Turns out I'm made of stronger stuff than I thought. How did the lawsuit turn out? Judge threw it out. But it cost me a year and $30,000 in legal fees. Some people will try to profit from anything. We drank our coffee in companionable silence. It was nice to talk to someone who understood, who'd been through their own version of hell and come out the other side. Tom says your ex tried to take your house, Jonathan said. He tried to take everything. But the house was mine before the marriage, so he has no claim. Good. You built something beautiful. You deserve to keep it. Over the following weeks, Jonathan and I developed a friendship. Nothing romantic, just 2 people who understood what it meant to rebuild after loss. He told me about his late wife, how she'd loved gardening and terrible reality TV. I told him about Robert, about the affair, about the betrayal. He's an idiot, Jonathan said bluntly. Any man who would cheat on a woman like you doesn't deserve a second chance. It was refreshing to hear. Most people tried to be diplomatic, to see both sides, to suggest reconciliation was possible. Jonathan just stated the obvious truth without apology. One afternoon we were reviewing the electrical plans when Jonathan's phone rang. He glanced at it and smiled. Sorry, I need to take this. It's my daughter. I hadn't known he had a daughter. He stepped away for the call and when he returned, he was beaming. She got into Stanford, he said proudly. Full scholarship. She's going to be an engineer. That's wonderful. She's my everything, he said simply. After her mother died, it was just the 2 of us. She's the reason I kept going. I understood that. Having a reason to keep going, to keep building, to keep moving forward. The next week, Jonathan invited me to his daughter's graduation party. It's casual, just family and close friends. You don't have to come, but I'd like you to be there. I went. The party was in Jonathan's backyard, a modest but well-kept space filled with people who clearly loved him. His daughter, Elizabeth, was brilliant and kind. She talked about structural engineering with a passion that reminded me of my own love for architecture. Dad says you designed the lakefront house, Elizabeth said. I drove by last week. The bones are beautiful. Your dad's doing the hard work bringing it to life. He says you're one of the best architects he's worked with. He doesn't give compliments lightly. I looked across the yard to where Jonathan was laughing with his brother. He caught my eye and raised his beer in a silent toast. I raised my water bottle in return. It felt good to be somewhere normal. Somewhere divorce and lawyers and ex-husbands didn't exist. Just people celebrating success, enjoying life, being kind to each other. The following Monday, I was reviewing permits at my office when Julie buzzed me. Robert is here. He says he needs to speak with you about the house. Tell him to call his lawyer. He says there's a pipe burst. Emergency situation. I pulled up my security cameras on my phone. The house looked fine. No water. No emergency. Tell him I can see my security cameras remotely and there's no emergency. If he doesn't leave immediately, I'll call the police. Through the reception area camera, I watched Julie deliver the message. Robert's face went red. He said something I couldn't hear, then left. 2 hours later, I was at the lakefront site when a car pulled up. Not a work truck. Robert's car. He got out looking around. Jonathan noticed immediately. Everything okay? That's my ex-husband. Jonathan's expression hardened. Want me to tell him to leave? Let me handle it. I walked over to Robert before he could get close to the construction site. You need to leave. I want to talk to you. Every time I try, you block me or threaten police. I'm trying to be reasonable here. Reasonable would have been not cheating on me. How long are you going to punish me? We were married for 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. Until you decided it meant nothing. I crossed my arms. You showed up at my office. You followed me to a construction site. This is harassment, Robert. I'm trying to fix things. There's nothing to fix. We're done. You wanted a divorce, you're getting a divorce. On my terms, not yours. Jonathan approached, his presence solid and intimidating. Ma'am, do you need me to call site security? Robert looked at Jonathan, then back at me. Who's this? Your new boyfriend? None of your business. Leave. Now. You moved on fast, Robert said bitterly. I guess you weren't that heartbroken after all. I moved on the moment you told me about Amanda. Everything since then has been legal cleanup. Robert stood there for another moment, then walked back to his car. But before he left, he turned. You're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this. The only mistake I made was marrying you. After Robert left, Jonathan stayed close. You okay? I'm fine. He's desperate, that's all. He's realizing how badly he screwed up. He shouldn't be following you around. That's stalker behavior. I'll talk to my lawyer. That evening I called Patricia. Robert showed up at a construction site today. He's been trying to contact me at work, at home, everywhere. That's the third incident this month, Patricia said. We're filing for a restraining order. This needs to stop. Will a restraining order actually do anything? It creates a legal record. If he violates it, he can be arrested. Most people take them seriously. The restraining order was granted within a week. Robert was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, and my workplace. Any contact had to be through lawyers. I expected to feel safer. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of fighting, tired of defending myself, tired of dealing with the mess Robert had created. But then I'd go to the lakefront site and see the house taking shape. I'd see my vision becoming reality. I talked to Jonathan about load-bearing walls and window placements and roof angles. I'd remember that I was building something beautiful, creating something lasting. And I'd remember that I was strong enough to survive anything. Amanda called my office on a Tuesday morning. Julie knew the drill by now. She says it's important. She says Robert is in trouble. Not my problem. That's what I figured. Should I block this number too? Please. But Amanda was persistent. She showed up at the lakefront construction site that afternoon. Jonathan saw her first and intercepted her before she got close to me. Private property, he said firmly. You need to leave. I need to talk to Natalie, Amanda said. I could hear her from where I stood reviewing the plumbing plans. Please. It's about Robert. I don't care, I called out. Whatever problems Robert has are his own. He's not eating. He's not sleeping. He's talking about hurting himself. I walked over, keeping a safe distance. Amanda looked different than before. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup smudged. She'd lost weight. The polished young professional was gone, replaced by someone desperate. If Robert is genuinely suicidal, call 911 or take him to a hospital, I said. But don't manipulate me with threats of self-harm. That's not fair and it's not my responsibility. You don't understand, Amanda said, tears streaming down her face. He's lost everything. His job, his home, his money. He has nothing left. He made his choices. We made a mistake. We both know that now. But you're destroying him. You're taking everything. I'm taking what's mine. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the police if you're not off this property in 30 seconds. I thought you'd have some compassion, Amanda said bitterly. But you're just cold. I had compassion. I had trust. I had love. Your boyfriend destroyed all of that. Now I have boundaries. And you're crossing them. Amanda left, but not before saying, this isn't over. Robert has lawyers too. His lawyers are as weak as he is, I said. Now leave before I have you arrested for trespassing. That evening, I got a call from Robert's mother again. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Natalie, please, Barbara said immediately. Amanda came to see us. She's very worried about Robert. That's between them. He's our son. We're worried too. He's living in our basement. He barely leaves his room. This divorce is killing him. Mrs. Patterson, I'm sorry Robert is struggling. Truly. But his mental health is not my responsibility. If you're concerned, get him professional help. Call a therapist. Call a psychiatrist. But don't call me expecting me to fix problems he created. You used to care about him. I did. Until he cheated on me, lied to me, and tried to steal from me. That tends to change things. But you're vindictive now. Taking everything, leaving him with nothing. I'm taking what the law says is mine. If that leaves him with nothing, that's a reflection of how little he contributed to our marriage. After I hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on Rebecca's balcony. The city lights stretched out below, thousands of people living their lives, dealing with their own problems. Rough day? Rebecca asked, joining me with her own glass. Robert's family is trying to guilt me into going easy on him. Of course they are. That's what families do. They protect their own even when their own is completely wrong. Am I being too harsh? I asked. Rebecca looked at me seriously. Do you want an honest answer? Always. You're being exactly as harsh as you need to be. Robert didn't just cheat. He planned to take advantage of you financially. He moved money, opened credit cards, positioned himself to win in a divorce. If you'd been soft, if you'd been accommodating, he would have destroyed you. Instead, you protected yourself. That's not vindictive. That's smart. She was right. I knew she was right. But some small part of me still wondered if I should have been kinder, more forgiving, more understanding. Then I remembered the restaurant. Robert's confident smile as he told me about his affair. The way he'd expected me to cry and beg. The satisfaction in his eyes at finally being honest. He hadn't been kind to me. Why should I be kind to him now? The next week brought surprising news. Robert's lawyer withdrew from the case. According to Patricia, Robert hadn't paid his legal bills in 2 months. He's representing himself now, Patricia said. This is either very stupid or very desperate. Both probably. It makes our job easier. But Natalie, I need to warn you. People who represent themselves in court tend to be unpredictable. He might say things, make accusations, get emotional. You need to be prepared for that. I can handle Robert. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. Until then, I focused on work. The lakefront house was nearly complete. The exterior was stunning, all glass and natural wood, designed to blend with the surrounding landscape. The interior was coming together beautifully, every detail exactly as planned. Jonathan and I walked through the nearly finished house one afternoon. The clients would do a final walkthrough next week, but Jonathan wanted my approval first. It's perfect, I said, standing in the living room. Light poured in through the massive windows, reflecting off the lake. Even better than I imagined. You designed it, Jonathan said. I just built what you saw in your mind. You made it real. That's the hard part. We stood there in comfortable silence, admiring the space. Then Jonathan spoke quietly. Elizabeth asked about you yesterday. She wanted to know if we were dating. I looked at him, surprised. What did you tell her? That we're friends? That you're going through a divorce and the last thing you need is romantic complications? He smiled slightly. Though I told her if circumstances were different, I'd be interested. Jonathan. I know. Wrong time. But I wanted you to know. After your divorce is final, if you ever want to have dinner that's not about construction plans, I'd like that. It was the gentlest proposition I'd ever received. No pressure. No expectations. Just an honest expression of interest with respect for my situation. I'll remember that, I said. That's all I ask. 2 days before my court date, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Natalie? A woman's voice, older, unfamiliar. Yes. This is Helen Wright, Jonathan's mother. He gave me your number. I hope that's okay. I relaxed slightly. Of course. Is everything all right? Oh yes, dear. I just wanted to call and say how much my son enjoys working with you. And how proud I am of him for finding someone who appreciates good work. Jonathan is an excellent contractor. He's an excellent man, Helen corrected gently. After he lost Caroline, I worried he'd never come back from that grief. But he's been different these past few months. Happier. Lighter. I think that's partly because of you. We're just friends. I know. And that's what he needs right now. A friend who understands. Just like you need a friend who understands. She paused. I heard about your situation. Your divorce. I'm sorry you're going through that. Thank you. My late husband cheated on me once 40 years ago. I stayed. We worked through it. But sometimes I wonder if I should have left. If staying made me weak or strong. She laughed softly. I suppose it doesn't matter now. He's been gone 5 years and I miss him every day despite everything. I'm sorry for your loss. Life is long and complicated, Helen said. But I didn't call to burden you with an old woman's memories. I called to say that my son speaks highly of you and that means something. Jonathan doesn't give his respect easily. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're building, keep doing it. You're on the right path. After we hung up, I sat with that conversation. An old woman I'd never met calling to encourage me, to remind me that I was on the right path, that I was doing the right thing. The night before court, I couldn't sleep. I reviewed my documents one more time. Everything was in order. Everything was documented. I had truth on my side. But I was still nervous. Court meant facing Robert. Meant hearing what he'd say, how he'd try to spin the narrative. Meant standing in front of a judge and laying out the intimate details of my marriage's failure. Rebecca must have heard me moving around. She came to the guest room door. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "No. Want company?" We sat on the bed like we had in college during late-night study sessions. Rebecca had been my friend for 15 years. She'd seen me through everything. "What if I'm wrong?" I asked quietly. "What if I'm being too harsh, too unforgiving? What if I should give him another chance?" "Do you want to give him another chance?" "No." "Then you're not wrong. Trust yourself, Natalie. You know what you need. You know what you deserve. And it's not a man who betrayed you and then expected you to fall apart so he could feel powerful." She was right. I knew she was right. Tomorrow I'd walk into that courtroom with my head high. Tomorrow I'd tell the truth. Tomorrow I'd fight for what was mine. And tomorrow I'd win. The courthouse was exactly as cold and impersonal as I'd expected. Patricia met me in the hallway outside the courtroom, her briefcase in hand, her expression confident. "Robert is already inside," she said. "He looks terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled suit. He's representing himself, which means this could get emotional. Don't react. No matter what he says, stay calm." "I will." The judge is Patricia Ramirez. She's fair but no nonsense. She doesn't tolerate games. Stick to facts, answer questions directly, don't volunteer extra information. We walked into the courtroom. Robert sat at the defendant's table alone. Patricia was right. He looked awful. His suit was the same navy one he'd worn to dinner that night, but now it hung on him. He'd lost weight. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hair unkempt. He looked up when I entered. Our eyes met across the room. I saw anger there, and desperation, and something that might have been regret. I felt nothing. Judge Ramirez entered. We all stood. The proceedings began. Patricia laid out our case systematically. The affair. The financial misconduct. The credit card debt. The violation of company policy that cost Robert his job. Every piece documented, every claim supported with evidence. "Your Honor," Patricia said, "this is a straightforward case of marital misconduct. Mr. Patterson engaged in an extramarital affair with a subordinate employee. He moved marital assets without his wife's knowledge in preparation for divorce. He accumulated significant debt on a credit card his wife knew nothing about, using those funds to support his affair. My client is simply asking for what is legally hers and what is fair given Mr. Patterson's behavior." Then it was Robert's turn. He stood, his hands shaking slightly as he held his notes. "Your Honor," he began, his voice uncertain. "I made mistakes. I know that. But my wife is trying to destroy me. She's taking everything. The house, our savings, everything we built together. She's leaving me with nothing." "Mr. Patterson," Judge Ramirez said, "did you have an extramarital affair?" "Yes, but..." "Did you move money from your joint savings account without telling your wife?" "I was protecting." "Yes or no, Mr. Patterson?" "Yes." "Did you open a credit card in both your names and accumulate $12,000 in debt without your wife's knowledge?" Robert's shoulders slumped. "Yes." "Then please explain to me why your wife is required to accommodate behavior that directly violated your marriage vows and state law regarding marital property." "Because we were married for 8 years, Robert said desperately. "That has to mean something. I worked hard. I contributed to our life together. Mr. Patterson, I have reviewed the financial documents. Your wife earned significantly more than you throughout your marriage. She owned the primary residence before you married. Her business was established before you married. What exactly did you contribute that entitles you to half of what she built?" "I was her husband. I was her partner. Until you decided you didn't want to be any more," Judge Ramirez said dryly. "Until you decided to pursue a relationship with another woman while spending marital assets on that relationship. That's not partnership, Mr. Patterson. That's betrayal." I sat perfectly still, watching justice unfold. "Mr. Patterson," the judge continued, "do you have any evidence of financial contribution to the primary residence?" "I paid utilities. I bought furniture." "Do you have receipts? Documentation?" Robert fumbled with his papers. "Some. Not all of it." "Then I'll assume your contribution was minimal." Judge Ramirez turned to Patricia. Counselor, what is your client's proposed division of assets? Patricia stood. Your Honor, my client is willing to divide joint assets acquired during the marriage fairly. That includes Mr. Patterson's retirement account, his vehicle, personal property, and furniture he can document purchasing. However, the house, my client's business, and her retirement account are not subject to division as they predate the marriage or were funded primarily by her income. What about the money Mr. Patterson moved from savings? We're asking for full reimbursement plus damages for the credit card debt he accumulated. Mr. Patterson, Judge Ramirez said, do you object to this division? It's not fair, Robert said. She's taking everything. She's keeping what was hers to begin with. There's a difference. The judge reviewed the documents in front of her. I'm going to make this very simple. The house goes to Miss Patterson as it was purchased with her funds before the marriage. Miss Patterson's business and retirement accounts are not marital property. Joint assets will be divided 50-50, which includes furniture, household items, and vehicles purchased during the marriage. Your Honor, Robert tried again. I'm not finished. Mr. Patterson, you will reimburse Miss Patterson the full amount removed from the joint savings account. You will also assume full responsibility for the credit card debt you accumulated during your affair. Additionally, you will pay Miss Patterson's legal fees given your misconduct was the direct cause of this divorce. Robert's face went white. I can't afford that. I don't have a job. Then I suggest you find one. Judge Ramirez signed several documents. Divorce is granted. This matter is concluded. Just like that, it was over. 8 years of marriage dissolved in 45 minutes of court proceedings. I stood, my legs steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. Robert remained seated, staring at the table. Patricia gathered her papers efficiently. Clean victory, she said quietly. Better than I expected. He's responsible for his own debt plus he has to pay you back the savings. That's rare in divorce court. We walked out together. Behind us, I could hear Robert arguing with the clerk about the judgment, his voice rising in desperation. I didn't look back. In the hallway, Patricia shook my hand. Congratulations. You're officially divorced. The judgment will be filed within 72 hours. After that, it's done. Finished. Thank you, I said. For everything. You made it easy. Best client I've had in years. You stayed calm, documented everything, didn't let emotions cloud your judgment. That's how you win. I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunlight. It was a beautiful day, warm with a slight breeze. I stood on the courthouse steps and breathed deeply. I was divorced. Officially, legally divorced. I was free. My phone rang. Rebecca. How'd it go? I won. Everything. Hell yes you did. Get back here. We're celebrating properly. But I didn't go to Rebecca's apartment. Instead, I drove to the lakefront house. The clients had moved in last week, but they'd given me an open invitation to visit anytime. The house looked spectacular in the afternoon light. Everything I'd envisioned had come to life. Jonathan's truck was in the driveway. He was there doing a final punch list, addressing minor issues. Hey, he said when he saw me. Everything okay? Court was this morning. I won. His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes. Of course you did. Never doubted it. We walked through the house together. He pointed out small adjustments he'd made, little details that made the space even better. We stood on the deck overlooking the lake. What happens now? Jonathan asked. Now I move forward. Really forward for the first time in months. That's good. You deserve that. We stood there in comfortable silence, watching the water. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I checked it. It was Robert. You won. Are you happy now? I hope destroying me was worth it. I deleted it without responding. Then I blocked the number. Ex-husband? Jonathan guessed. Former ex-husband, I corrected. As of 3 hours ago, he's just a stranger who made bad choices. That's a healthy way to look at it. It's the only way to look at it. Jonathan's phone rang. He glanced at it and smiled. It's Elizabeth. She's checking in from college. Do you mind? Not at all. I listened to him talk to his daughter. The love in his voice was evident. The pride. The joy. This was what partnership should look like. What family should feel like. Support and respect and genuine care. Not what I'd had with Robert. What I'd had was comfortable until it wasn't. Easy until it became hard. Robert had never looked at me the way Jonathan looked at his daughter. Like she was the best thing in his world. That evening, I returned to my house for the first time since the divorce was finalized. It felt different somehow. Lighter. Like a weight had been lifted from the walls themselves. I walked through each room reclaiming my space. This was mine. Fully, completely mine. No ex-husband with claims. No pending legal battles. Just mine. In my office, I pulled up my calendar. I had 3 new client meetings scheduled next week. My firm was thriving. I was successful, independent, strong. Rebecca arrived with champagne and takeout. To freedom, she toasted. To freedom, I echoed. We ate and drank and laughed. For the first time in months, we didn't talk about Robert or divorce or lawyers. We talked about work and travel and future plans. We talked about life going forward, not backward. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Another message from Robert finding ways around my blocks. I'm sorry. Please, can we just talk? I showed Rebecca. He's pathetic. He's desperate. There's a difference, though not much of one. I typed a response. The only one I'd send. We have nothing to discuss. I've moved on. You should too. Don't contact me again. Then I changed my number. Completely new. I gave it to Rebecca, to Patricia, to my clients and colleagues. I didn't give it to anyone connected to Robert. A clean break. Finally. That night, I slept in my own bed in my own house as a divorced woman. I slept soundly, dreamlessly, peacefully. When I woke the next morning, the sun was streaming through my windows. I made coffee and sat on my back patio looking at my garden. Everything was blooming. Everything was alive and growing and beautiful. I'd survived the worst thing I could imagine. My marriage ending. The betrayal of someone I'd trusted. The public dissolution of 8 years of my life. And I was okay. More than okay. I was strong. I was successful. I was free. Whatever came next, I'd handle it. Because I'd proven to myself that I could handle anything. 6 months after the divorce, my life had transformed in ways I never expected. My architecture firm had grown. I'd hired 2 junior architects and moved into a larger office space. The lakefront house had won a regional design award, bringing new high-profile clients. I was designing homes for people who appreciated art, who valued beauty, who understood what I was creating. Rebecca had moved into a new apartment, which meant I lost my guest room safety net. But I didn't need it anymore. My house was mine, fully mine, and I loved every corner of it. I'd redecorated. The spaces that Robert had influenced were changed completely. New furniture in the living room, new colors in the bedroom, new art on the walls. It wasn't erasing him exactly. It was just making the space wholly mine. Jonathan and I still worked together regularly. He'd become my preferred contractor, the one I recommended to all my clients. We had lunch once a week, sometimes talking about projects, sometimes just talking about life. Elizabeth loves Stanford, he told me over coffee one afternoon. She's thinking about structural engineering. You inspired that, you know. I barely talked to her. You didn't have to. She saw your work, saw how passionate you are, and it clicked for her. She wants to create beautiful spaces that last. It felt good to have influenced someone positively. To have been an example of success and strength instead of just the wronged wife in a messy divorce. How's your photography hobby going? Jonathan asked. I'd started taking photos of my completed projects, artistic shots that captured the essence of each design. Heather had encouraged it, even offered to display some of my work in her gallery. I'm enjoying it, I said. It's different from designing. More immediate. You capture a moment instead of building for the future. But you're good at both. Jonathan smiled. You're one of those people who's good at everything you try. That's not true. Name one thing you're bad at. I thought about it. Marriage, apparently. That wasn't you being bad at marriage. That was your ex-husband being bad at fidelity. It was easier to accept that now. 6 months of distance had given me perspective. Robert's choices weren't a reflection of my worth or my capacity to be loved. They were just his choices, his failures, his problems. I'd heard through mutual friends that Robert had moved to another state. Colorado had too many bad memories, too many people who knew what he'd done. He'd found a job in sales, something entry-level, far below what he'd had before. Amanda had also left the area. Whether they were together or not, I didn't know. I didn't care. That Saturday, I attended Heather's gallery opening. She was displaying architectural photography from around the region, including 3 of my photos. Walking into the gallery and seeing my work on the walls was surreal. They're beautiful, Heather said, standing beside me. You have an eye for this. You taught me. I taught you technique. The vision is all yours. The gallery was crowded with people who appreciated art and architecture. I mingled, talked shop with other architects, networked with potential clients. It was professional and pleasant and exactly what I needed. Then I saw a familiar face across the room. Tom, the contractor from my water damage crisis, the one who'd recommended Jonathan. He waved and made his way over. Natalie, I heard you'd have pieces here. They're stunning. Thank you for coming. Wouldn't miss it. Plus, I wanted to tell you. My sister is building a vacation home in Aspen. She wants you to design it. New client. New project. New opportunities. We talked details and I promised to call her next week to discuss vision and timeline. After Tom moved on to view other exhibits, I stood alone for a moment looking at my photograph on the wall. It was a shot of the lakefront house at sunset, the glass walls reflecting the water and sky, creating an illusion of floating. I'd captured exactly what I'd envisioned when I designed it. The connection between structure and nature. The harmony of human creation and natural beauty. That's incredible work. I turned to find Jonathan beside me. He'd come to the opening, dressed in a dark green button-down and slacks. It was the first time I'd seen him in something other than work clothes. You came, I said, surprised. Of course. You invited me. He studied the photograph. This is my favorite project. The one where I really understood your vision. It was a team effort. It was your design. I just followed instructions. We walked through the gallery together, looking at other photographers' work. Some were good, some were remarkable, some were amateur at best. Jonathan had thoughtful comments about each piece, showing an artistic sensibility I hadn't known he possessed. You know a lot about photography, I observed. Caroline was a photographer. Before she got sick, she did portraits. Families, children, seniors. She had a real gift for capturing personality. He smiled, but there was sadness in it. I learned by watching her work. We stopped in front of a portrait series. Black and white images of elderly couples, their hands intertwined, their faces showing decades of life together. Do you miss her? I asked quietly. Every day. But it's different now. Less sharp. More like a gentle ache instead of a knife wound. Does it ever go away completely? I don't think it's supposed to. She was part of my life. Losing her changed me. But I wouldn't want to forget her. We moved to the next exhibit. Jonathan changed the subject. Elizabeth asked about you again. She wants to know if you'd be willing to do an informational interview. Tell her about being a woman in architecture. I'd be happy to. She looks up to you. That's good. She needs strong women to admire. After the gallery, a group of us went to dinner at a nearby restaurant. Heather, Tom, Jonathan, and several other artists and architects. It was lively and fun, full of debates about design philosophy and artistic vision. I sat between Jonathan and Heather, feeling more content than I had in years. This was my community. These were my people. Not Robert's marketing friends who'd always made me feel like the boring, serious one. Not his family who'd never really accepted me. These were people who understood what I valued, who appreciated what I created. You're glowing, Heather whispered when Jonathan was distracted by a conversation across the table. I've never seen you this happy. I'm free, I said simply. For the first time in years, I'm exactly where I want to be. It looks good on you. Walking to my car after dinner, Jonathan fell into step beside me. The night was cool, stars visible despite the city lights. I enjoyed tonight, he said. Thank you for including me. Thank you for coming. It meant a lot. We reached my car. Jonathan hesitated, then spoke carefully. I know I said I'd wait until after your divorce was final. It's been 6 months now. If you're interested, I'd really like to take you to dinner sometime. Just the two of us. Not about work. I looked at him. At his kind eyes and gentle smile. At the man who'd been a friend when I needed one, who'd never pushed, never demanded, never expected anything. I'd like that, I said. His smile widened. Yeah. But Jonathan, I need you to know something. I'm still figuring out who I am post-divorce. I'm still learning how to be just me, not someone's wife. I don't want to rush into anything. I'm not asking you to rush. I'm just asking for dinner. Then yes, dinner sounds perfect. We set a date for the following weekend. Nothing fancy. Just a casual restaurant, good food, easy conversation. As I drove home, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Excitement about the future. Not anxiety, not dread, not the weight of a failing marriage. Just simple excitement about what might come next. My house welcomed me home. I'd left lights on, soft music playing. It was warm and comfortable and mine. I made tea and sat in my favorite chair, looking around at the space I'd created. This was success. Not a perfect marriage or a husband who stayed faithful. Not fitting into someone else's vision of what my life should be. This was real success. Independence. Strength. Peace. My phone buzzed with a text. Jonathan. Thank you again for tonight. Looking forward to next weekend. I smiled and typed back. Me too. Then I set down my phone and picked up a book I'd been meaning to read. A novel about a woman starting over after loss. It felt appropriate. Outside, the city hummed with life. People were living their stories, facing their challenges, building their futures. And I was one of them. No longer defined by my failed marriage. No longer marked by Robert's betrayal. Just Natalie. Architect, artist, friend. Woman rebuilding her life exactly as she chose. And it felt absolutely perfect. 1 year after the divorce, I stood in a different gallery for a different opening. This one was mine. Heather had convinced me to do a solo show. Architectural photography focusing on spaces of transformation. Homes I designed for people starting over. Buildings that represented new chapters. The gallery was full. Clients, colleagues, friends. Rebecca stood near the entrance, directing people to different pieces and explaining the stories behind them. Jonathan was there with Elizabeth, home from college for the weekend. Tom brought his sister, the one who'd hired me for the Aspen project that was now half complete. This is amazing, Elizabeth said, studying a photograph of a small home I designed for a widow. The way you captured the light coming through that window. It feels like hope. That was the intent, I said. She wanted a space that felt open to possibility while still being cozy and safe. You gave her that. Elizabeth looked at me seriously. I want to do this someday. Create spaces that help people heal. You will. You're brilliant. She beamed at the compliment, then went to look at other pieces. Jonathan stayed beside me. She's not wrong, he said. About the hope. That's what all your work has. It's not just about making beautiful buildings. It's about giving people spaces to become whoever they want to be next. Our dinner date had led to another, then another. We've been seeing each other regularly for 3 months now. Nothing rushed, nothing pressured. Just two people who enjoyed each other's company, who understood each other's past pain, who were building something new together. Are you nervous? Jonathan asked, nodding toward the crowd. A little. This is more personal than showing my architectural work. These photos are about stories, not just structures. That's what makes them powerful. The evening progressed beautifully. Several pieces sold, including the sunset shot of the lakefront house. People asked about my firm, about my design philosophy, about commissioning work. I handed out business cards and made connections and felt proud of what I'd created. Near the end of the evening, I was standing alone in front of my favorite piece. It was a photograph of my own home, taken from the backyard at dawn. The house glowed in the early light, every window reflecting possibility. I titled it Reclaimed. That's your house, isn't it? I turned to find a stranger beside me. A woman in her 40s, elegant, with kind eyes. It is, I said. It's beautiful. The way you captured it. Like it's a sanctuary. It is. For me, anyway. I'm going through a divorce, the woman said quietly. My husband cheated. With someone younger, prettier. I've been feeling lost. But looking at your work tonight, seeing these spaces you've created for people starting over, it gives me hope. If you could do it, maybe I can too. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw the pain I'd felt, the uncertainty, the fear of what came next. You can, I said firmly. I promise you. It feels impossible now, but you'll survive it. More than survive. You'll build something better. How did you do it? How did you get from broken to this? She gestured around the gallery. I stopped waiting for him to fix what he broke. I stopped hoping he'd change or come back or realize what he lost. I just focused on building my own life. Creating things. Moving forward. And eventually, the pain faded and the strength remained. She wiped her eyes carefully. Thank you. I needed to hear that. After she moved on, I stood there thinking about that conversation. About how far I'd come. About the woman I'd been a year ago, sitting in that restaurant, hearing Robert confess his betrayal. That woman had been hurt. But she'd been strong too, even if she didn't know it yet. The gallery was starting to empty. Heather came over, exhausted but happy. That was a huge success. Half the pieces sold. You have 3 new client inquiries. And I heard at least 5 people talking about commissioning architectural photography for their own projects. It went well, I agreed. Natalie, I'm proud of you. You took something terrible and used it to fuel something beautiful. That's art. After everyone left, it was just Jonathan, Rebecca, and me helping Heather clean up. We worked efficiently, taking down labels, packing unsold pieces, straightening furniture. Drinks? Rebecca suggested. To celebrate? We went to the wine bar where I'd once seen Robert and Amanda. It didn't hurt anymore. It was just a place with good wine. We found a table, ordered a bottle of something expensive, and toasted to success and friendship and new beginnings. Can I say something? Rebecca asked after her second glass. I've known you 15 years. This year, watching you handle the divorce, build your business, create this art. I've never been more impressed by anyone in my life. You could have fallen apart. Instead, you became stronger. I had help, I said, looking at her and Jonathan. I had people who supported me. But you did the work, Jonathan said. We just stood nearby while you rebuilt. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was Robert. I saw the article about your gallery show. Congratulations. You always had talent. I hope you're happy. I showed it to Rebecca and Jonathan. Rebecca's expression darkened. Are you kidding me? Now he wants to be supportive. It's pathetic, Jonathan agreed. But I just felt tired. Not angry, not hurt. Just tired of Robert's attempts to stay relevant in my life. I typed a response. The last one I'd ever send. Thank you. I'm happy. I hope you find the same. Goodbye, Robert. Then I deleted the message thread and blocked the number. Again. You're too kind, Rebecca said. No. I'm just done. Completely, finally done. He doesn't deserve my anger anymore. He doesn't deserve anything from me. We finished our wine and talked about other things. Rebecca's new case at work. Elizabeth's engineering studies. Jonathan's next project. My Aspen vacation home design. Life. Moving forward. Not stuck in the past. When Jonathan drove me home later, we sat in my driveway for a moment. Do you ever regret how you handled things? He asked. Do you ever wish you'd tried to reconcile with him? Never. Not once. I looked at my house, glowing in the porch light. He wanted me to fight for him. To beg. To fall apart. Refusing to do that was the best decision I ever made. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm just someone who survived something hard. No. Jonathan turned to face me. You're someone who took something hard and turned it into something beautiful. That's different. He was right. I hadn't just survived my divorce. I'd used it. I'd grown from it. I'd become stronger, more independent, more confident. I'd built a business, created art, made real connections with people who valued me. Robert had given me one gift even if he didn't mean to. He'd set me free. Want to come in for coffee? I asked. I'd love to. We sat on my back patio drinking coffee and looking at the stars. It was peaceful. Easy. Right. What's next for you? Jonathan asked. More projects. The Aspen house will take 6 months. I have 2 residential designs starting next month. Maybe another gallery show next year. And personally? I smiled at him. I'm figuring that out as I go. But I'm open to possibilities. Good. So am I. We talked for another hour before Jonathan left. I walked him to his truck and he kissed me goodnight. It was gentle, sweet, promising nothing but also promising everything. After he left, I walked through my house. My sanctuary. My achievement. My space. In my office, I pulled up my latest architectural design. A home for a young couple just starting out, full of hope and dreams. I'd make it beautiful for them. Give them a space to build their lives. My phone buzzed one more time. Not Robert this time. The woman from the gallery, the one going through divorce. Heather must have given her my number. Thank you for tonight. For your words. For your art. For showing me that there's life after betrayal. You gave me hope when I needed it most. I replied simply. You're stronger than you know. Trust yourself. Build something beautiful. Then I set down my phone and looked around my office. At my architectural drawings. At my photographs. At the evidence of everything I'd created from the ashes of my failed marriage. Robert had wanted revenge. He'd wanted me to hurt the way he'd hurt me. He'd expected tears and drama and weakness. Instead, I'd given him silence, strength, success. And in doing so, I'd won. Not just the divorce, but something far more important. I won myself back. I stood and walked to the window. The city spread out before me, full of lights and life and possibility. Somewhere out there, Robert was living whatever life he'd chosen. Somewhere out there, Amanda was dealing with her own choices. But I was here, in my beautiful home, living my beautiful life, free and strong and happy. His smile had faded that night in the restaurant when I didn't react the way he expected. And mine had only grown brighter in the years since. That was the best revenge of all. Not destroying him, just thriving without him. I smiled at my reflection in the dark window. The woman looking back was strong, confident, successful. She was everything I'd always wanted to be but hadn't known I could become. Thank you, Robert, I thought, for setting me free. Then I turned away from the window and toward my future. And I never looked back again.